Alright, so I'm gonna be doing the no-till brassicas today. I got a couple small spots here to do. This is just a real small strip, as you can tell, of buckwheat. And I got another small spot over here and two more small spots out closer to the road. In a total, probably half an acre. So not much, but for this little property, this is that 20 acres that my buddy and my dad's owns. There's generally not a ton of deer that winter here. It's all surrounded by giant ag fields. No really big patch of cover or big woods close by. So these deer are kind of here and there. In the wintertime last year, they stuck around until my little corn patch ran out. They pretty much ate up all the brassicas too. I had a real small amount of food here last year because we mainly had a lot of pumpkins here that we grow and sell. This year we got a lot more food here, rotating it a couple of years away, you know, of no pumpkins, because pumpkins are real hard on the ground because of the powdery mildew. But anyways, I got clover on the other side. This is all new clover that I planted. I'm probably gonna spray this with clethodim today or tomorrow morning. It's coming in real nice, but there's a lot of annual grasses, foxtail and crabgrass or whatever this is. But yeah, here's a quick look at the buckwheat. This is probably my best looking buckwheat here. This is the driest ground. The next spot's right over there. It's a lot lower and clayier. It didn't do the greatest. I got clover all the way into here, so I might end up leaving that and seeding the brassicas like up to here. I'm gonna crush it all down, but when I spray this, I'm gonna try not to kill all this nice clover I got coming up. I wanted at least a third of this plot into a perennial like clover, so these deer got something real good to eat on most of the year. I already got brassicas seeded in this, so this is going to be, I guess, a good example of no-till with a cover crop and no-till with bare dirt. I'm sure these seeds are going to get washed around and into some of these deer tracks and some of these low spots from we're supposed to get good rains like either Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday next week. It's Friday, it's a little early, but I want to get some other plots planted tomorrow. We're going to be getting rain definitely in the next week. So in here, and with all this cover crop here, it should hopefully, you know, help the seed from not getting washed around and, you know, pooled up into real thick spots, because it just really messes up your seeding then, because you got real thin spots and you got real thick spots. You want a nice even spread, obviously, and the rain can sometimes, especially on these no-till plantings like this, especially on hard packed ground, you're going to get real thick and real thin spots. Pretty rare to get a nice even spread, but in here I should get a more even spread. You can see there's a couple weeds in there, so obviously after crushing all this down today, I'm going to be spraying this with glyphosate. We are going to have some weeds that survive, like this water hemp here, but everything else should die. And to crush it down, I'm just going to be, you know, it's too hard to haul the cultipacker over here. I'll just be using a normal, whatever, 4 or 5 foot, probably 4 foot drag. That's what this is. This thing probably weighs 150 pounds. It's kind of a pain to load into the truck. Probably a 5 foot drag. That should be enough to just crush this buckwheat down. Obviously you want to go the same direction every time. So that's what I'll get some time lapses of what this all looks like. So I'm going to seed this and crush it, and then we're going to head on to the next spot. So this is what I'm going to be using. I got Whitetail Institute wintergreens and tillage radish seed. Obviously all those bigger brown ones are the tillage radish. That's seed that's left over from last year, so I don't know, I might not get 100% germination. Man, mosquitoes are just terrible out here. I don't know if you could see them all buzzing around, but man, I can't even stand here and take this video. But like I said, that's all tillage radish seed from last year. You can see I got a kind of a lighter rate of that, maybe like 10% tillage radish or whatever. Look at this. This should be enough seed for all these spots. I'm thinking I got at the very most a half acre, and there really isn't a whole lot of seed here. This should be plenty. So let's just take a quick look at the seeding rate. See, there's 3 seeds there. This is plenty thick. I mean, I hardly put any seed on. It felt like I just go all by the feel, because even 1 on the settings is too much. Yeah, this is plenty thick. We'll obviously get a better idea when stuff starts coming up, but now I know on the next plot I can go even lighter with the rate, because just spot checking it a little bit here, a little bit there, you get a real good feel of, you can just get it all with the trigger on your bag seeder. And years of doing this, I mean, it's hard to concentrate out here with all these mosquitoes. I'm just getting eaten alive. It doesn't really, may not seem like it, but man, there's like a river right over there, standing water everywhere out here. Bugs are just horrendous. Believe it or not, the drag actually did a kind of a decent job of just lightly fluffing up the top, like ½ inch of soil. So looking around in here, there's actually probably quite a bit of seed that's actually like worked into the ground at the perfect like 1/4 to ½ inch depth. It's almost like I would have just drilled this. It actually worked out pretty good. So it's not really like a true no-till planting. It's more like if I would have took a drill through here, because the ground is lightly fluffed up underneath this cover crop. See, look at that. There's already a bunch of seed that got pushed into this little low spot here. A deer track probably, but there's still plenty of seed. Like I said, I might have overdid it a little bit. So let's move on to the next spot. All right, so here's the next spot. This spot didn't get planted the same day as that drier plot. It was just too wet. So it probably got planted, I think, like a week or 2 later. And it was times there was standing water right in here. You can see it killed off the buckwheat in some of these areas practically. So I'm not sure how well the brassicas are gonna do in here. I got soybeans on the other half back here. They're looking all right, a little thinner than I would like them. But I'm not gonna seed brassicas on that side. I'd like to spray that one more time if another flush of weeds comes up. Because this side over here is all gonna be brassicas anyway. Hoping the same thing. Maybe the drag will do a decent job of working up and softening up this top ½ inch of soil. There's some of this stuff in here. This is some hard to kill swamp grass. I'm sure a lot of this is going to survive the spraying. But this is probably the weakest buckwheat I have here. The other stuff in the next spots looks a little better. Got 2 seeds right here, a seed right there, 1 seed right there. Not really seeing anything right here. Must be a little bit. Oh, right here's one. Right here's another one. There's still plenty of seed in here. Same thing, did a real nice job of working in this seed. Obviously, if the buckwheat was taller, it wouldn't have, and thicker, and just more volume growing here, it wouldn't have, you know, churned up the dirt as bad. This really ain't a true no-till planting, but I think it's actually gonna work out better than a no-till planting because the seed's literally in the soil. Lightly, see how that seed was I just uncovered that one. And, you know, anytime you get like a small seed, it's going to take better if the ground is a little bit loose. That top inch of dirt is just loose now. Obviously, you still got to go back through here and spray this. Yeah, that drag does a pretty nice job. The cultipacker wouldn't even work it up that good. Obviously it took a little bit, probably took 10 minutes to do this. Maybe not quite 10 minutes, maybe like 5 to 8 minutes, I don't know. If you have anything more than an acre, this would be not really the best way to do it, to, you know, time consuming, but yeah, it does a nice job. I'm pretty confident this is gonna turn out pretty nice now. So right here's the third spot out here closer to the road. The fourth spot's just right over there along that corn. I want to point something out to you. I just seeded it. This is the dead furrow from when we plowed this spring. So obviously there was standing water in here and really stunted the buckwheat. And then you get on to the little bit higher ground here, it looks better. About knee to thigh high probably. And then you'll notice the high spot in the field right here is where we plowed, and we basically started plowing in the middle and it made a mound. Dead furrow on that side, dead furrow on that side. And right here on this higher, I mean, look at it. It's like, you can kind of see it where the soybeans are. It's like maybe probably 2 to 3 inches higher right here on the mound versus the rest of it. And then obviously the furrows over there, even lower. And you can clearly see how well the buckwheat responded to being literally planted 2 inches higher than the rest of it. It's like a good foot and a half taller. It's almost chest high right in here. It's actually, you know, just the stems are a lot greener and thicker. Where over here the stems are red and a lot thinner, like that last spot. This is definitely higher ground than the last spot was, and over there it actually looks pretty good too. Let's just take a quick look for seeds. Yeah, this is plenty thick. I mean, we got like 1, 2, 3, 4 of them right there. 2 right there. So yeah, it's looking good, about as thick as I'd want it, so. Well, you can clearly see where the buckwheat was taller, it crushes down a lot better, just like rye. When you no-till like soybeans or something into rye and you're crushing it down, the buckwheat's the same way. The taller and the more dense and the bigger the crop is, actually the easier it crushes down. The small stuff likes to spring back up. And here it's like a true no-till planting. The drag didn't really disturb the soil that much, and you got all this vegetation covering up the seed. But over here where it's smaller, a lot of it likes to spring back up. But over here, the seed actually got incorporated into the soil a little bit. So it'd be interesting to see. Once I spray this area will dry up really fast. Even the thicker areas dry up within 2 weeks. I mean, it's all like bare dirt practically. So this stuff, you know, disintegrates and decomposes down pretty fast. It's like these stems are not much to them. And by next spring, you'll hardly be able to see any of this buckwheat. Maybe in that thicker spot, but this little stuff will be completely gone pretty much by next spring. Well, I'm out here doing a final update, or I should say only update. I thought I took an update of all these brassicas out here, but I guess I didn't. I was looking through footage and I got to get an update out here because I did take all the footage of planting it. So I figured I'll make a video out of it. It's actually been quite a while since I've been out here and they look really good. Wow. So this was that first year plot that I plan on putting some ascanthus and kind of more screening next year. This year was just to plow it under and kill the sod layer. I will put in a little bit of clover here along the driving trail, but this will most likely never have brassicas or soybeans again. I had soybeans on that back half. They're all turning yellow. Yeah, just absolutely amazing. And there was no weeds in this plot at all because it was a first year plot. You know, usually the first year, and even the second year is usually pretty good for weeds. Yeah, look at, here's all the old buckwheat. And the buckwheat didn't do that good here because, you know, this is kind of a wetter spot, and it was such a wet spring. The buckwheat, like I said, wasn't the greatest, but it's pretty much dried up ever since I planted them. And it's, you know, the ground's literally cracking now, so it's about average or maybe slightly drier than average the last month and a half or so. And they're not done yet. I mean, we still got probably 2 weeks of growth before we get a, you know, a killing frost, like 28 degrees or something. And here's the soybeans, later planted beans. I'm actually surprised that they're not still green. I planted these probably like middle of June or something. Got some pods on here for them. The bean population wasn't nearly as thick as what it should have been. So after spraying them, I just came through here and broadcasted some brassicas to fill in the gaps. But yeah, I'll take you over to the other plots next to my corn, and then I'll take you behind the house up there. But yeah, these are looking really good. This is all winter greens with tillage radish mixed in. I must have not mixed in a whole lot of tillage radish because I'm not seeing too much of it, but a couple purple top turnips in here, like I said in my other videos. The winter greens is only about 5% purple top turnip, and the rest of it's all forage rape and kales. That's what all this is, obviously. This is the kales and the forage rape. I've seen the best results, you know, like from November and then, you know, all the way through the winter. They'll dig on the turnips a little bit, but these big green leaves are the main attraction. They'll eat that all the way down to the ground practically. Here's a couple tillage radish that went out to seed. Sometimes they'll do that. Here's one that didn't. Not seeing any. I got 2 cell cameras out here. There hasn't been a single buck that has showed up yet. Generally, the last couple years, the bucks start filtering in on this little property around early to mid-October. You know, it being October 1st today, pretty soon there'll be some bucks coming. It's mainly just all does all summer and all of September. And there ain't a single leaf gone on this whole plot, so I'd be surprised. I'm gonna definitely have food here left over in the spring. There's not that many deer here. All right, so here's the other plot, the drier plot. This is where I had the buckwheat. This little strip right here, you can see the old stalks. And this right here is where I had no buckwheat. It was like a failed soybean planting, and it was just bare dirt. Same thing with this corn where the deer just munched it off real bad. It was just bare dirt in there. I broadcasted the Brassica in there and in here. You can't really see the difference between where the buckwheat was and where it was just dirt. It all looks pretty good. This plot might be a slightly less seed, less plants out here, so they got maybe a little bit bigger. Some pretty big turnips in here. I did fertilize all these plots with some extra urea. Probably, I don't know, 3 weeks after planting or something, like when they were about shin high. A couple soybean plants in here too. This is all the field, the 100-day field corn, where it's all just completely destroyed by deer. As soon as you get to the first good row of corn, it's all NutriCrave. I got like 6 rows, like 6 or 8 rows of NutriCrave here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows of NutriCrave, and they're virtually untouched by the deer. But this 100-day field corn just got absolutely annihilated. They were just constantly eating the leaves, and there was just tons of deer tracks in here all summer long, just eating on the plant basically, and silk in the ears, so the ears couldn't really form. I might have a scattered 1 or 2 that actually turned into something, Probably didn't get the greatest pollen. Oh, this one actually pollinated. The NutriCrave looks really good though. Yeah, so same thing in the plot behind the house. You'll see that field corn just got eaten up by the deer, and the NutriCrave was virtually untouched. Yeah, look at the size of that one. That's a softball or bigger. And then I got all my clover over there, clover and alfalfa on that side. Something ate that already, some deer. Probably didn't pollinate the best, but yeah, I just checked another camera over there and it's just all does. There hasn't been a single buck on camera here all summer or up until now. It's just all been does and fawns, but there is a lot of does and fawns here, so at some point during the season there's going to be some bucks cruising around here. Wow, look at that one. And last year I had the deer here quite a bit here in the wintertime with my little NutriCrave corn plot until it was gone. They were pretty consistently here until that food source ran out, and this year I got tons and tons more food. So I'm thinking I probably won't run out of winter food this year, including the stuff behind the house is where I'll take you to next. This clover's looking really good too. All right, so here's that little square right next to these later planted soybeans. All these brassicas here turned out pretty good. There's one spot here where they're kind of, must be a little bit of a nutrients deficiency or something. Maybe phosphorus. These two areas, this area and the next area I'll show you, got planted pretty thick, almost a little bit too thick. And remember, all of this buckwheat was very stressed from, you know, May and June being extremely wet. The buckwheat and the soil's like 6 inches higher or so, like right here. That's kind of where these brassicas look better too. And the buckwheat was much taller here. You can see how much bigger the stalks are and everything. But overall, man, these brassicas, it's amazing if the weeds don't take over and you got your nutrients and everything, you know, pH and everything. The brassicas just provide an absolutely amazing amount of tonnage for how easy they are to grow and how fast they grow. And just how cheap they are too. I mean, the seed's not very expensive, and it's like the food plot crop that provides the most tonnage. I mean, them beans, yeah, they were there during the summertime, but they'll just mow right through. All those pods will be gone before even a quarter of this brassica is gone. Now, do they like the beans better or the brassicas better? It's hard to say, because I mean, the beans, like I just said, those are not very high yielding beans right there. It's just like a 20 by 20 yard square, and this is a 20 by 20 yard square brassica. But I can guarantee you these brassicas are going to be here not twice as long, not 3 times as long, but probably 4 or 5 times longer than those beans. I'm assuming those beans will be gone by January 1st, depending on how many deer winter over here on this little parcel. And then right across the way here, I had some pumpkins that it was just too wet to grow pumpkins. Some of them are finally growing, but they were just extremely stunted and didn't really turn out much of anything. So I just broadcast a bunch of brassica in here too. This was probably early August. You can see we got some deer browse in here. This was a different mix. This was a mix by Domain. It had some of these purple kohlrabis in here. So it pretty much has the same stuff with some tillage radish too. So same type of kales and forage rapes. And then same thing over here. This was beans that were really thin. They didn't get planted as thick as those. So I broadcast a whole bunch of brassica right in with the beans here. And they're doing really, really good too. These were planted pretty early as well, probably like middle of July, but it took them forever to get going because every time you broadcast Brassica seed on this hard packed dry ground. It's not really dry now, but this summer when it was, you know, starting to dry up, you got to get some really good rains to get Brassica seed to germinate when it's sitting right on top of bare dirt. That's why the buckwheat really helps hold a little bit more moisture in, plus just shading it from the sun for about a week, you know, right when it's trying to germinate. And this is my NutriCrave right here I'm in. The couple rows of field corn are right here that are just decimated by the deer. You can't even see the rows hardly. The cranes pulled some of this, or a lot of this, out this spring too. That's why there's big gaps right here in the NutriCrave too, where nothing's growing. And some of this did root lodge. You can see they're kind of leaning over. But between this corn, the little bit of soybeans I have, and all this Brassica, this should definitely be enough food to have leftovers in the spring. Where last year, I just had a little patch of corn. And we had all this into pumpkins. We had a great pumpkin crop because how dry it was last year. This is kind of a wetter, more of a silty clay type of ground. It's pretty hard. It's like a silty clay kind of. And this really holds its moisture a long time when it gets wet. And last year the pumpkins did really good in here, and I just had a little bit of corn right here, and that was holding the deer here. And then when it ran out, the deer left. And there's bigger woods like a mile away that way, and another woods a mile over this hill. And this is just like a little 20-acre parcel with basically almost 20 acres of cover, but winter cover, probably down to like 5 to 8 acres of good winter cover. And even that's not really the greatest winter cover with the winds blowing across these fields. So these deer, it's hard to keep them here in the winter time, but with this food, hopefully they stay a little longer. Yeah, it looks pretty good. This might be the last Brassica video. If not, I'll have one more coming out. So thanks for watching.